Boo! TV! Boo! Internet forever! TV! Boo!
I'm Liam. I sing in a band called Cancer Bats. I think we've become better at our instruments. We definitely have gotten better over the years. Maybe more professional in terms of like knowing what we're doing, knowing how to execute the music that I feel like we have knocking around in our brains. That's the nicest part about it. I'm like, oh, I can write a song that clearly like transmits the ideas that I'm trying to communicate, and then we can play riffs that we actually can like replicate live, nailing it. 14 years later, we're nailing it. When you're doing like a band or a business for as long as this, there's certain times where you're like have to reevaluate what you're doing, and you have to like kind of like look at anything. It's like any like, you know, relationship or like a business, you kind of always have to come together and be like, okay, why are we still doing this? Like, what's the point? Reassessing like what is that driving force in you, you know, to want to still be, you know, a punk or like involved in music or like doing things like on a DIY level. Like, what is that drive that we all have to be creative, and like how do you kind of like recognize that and tap into it, and like what events in life like kind of shape that? That was like the whole thing that I was kind of grappling with. We have to reassess like what are, you know, reasons for being in a band and touring. So we did that around 2013, and then things happened. We did that around like 2016 as well, 2017. People having kids, people getting married, getting older. Like when you start a punk band, you definitely don't think you're gonna be in it for 14 years, you know? So sometimes you're like, well, what does that mean? Like now I'm in my 30s, like what should I do? And you're like, am I playing in this band because I don't want to like do anything else? Or is it because I'm not good at anything else? So there's some points where we've just kind of taken time to like make sure we're in this band for the right reasons. And then we've done other things on the side. Like, you know, you buy a house, you renovate it, you do some fun things. I run a clothing brand. Has been like an amazing thing that I do on the side. And I ride a lot of motorcycles. And it's like really separate from music. And I really love it. So I ride a lot of dirt bikes. I have like a Triumph Scrambler as my street bike. I just love riding bikes. I don't drive like Aston Martins or like Porsches, but I've ridden in Matt Tuck's Aston Martin, and it was the sickest thing ever. So I was like, yeah, hell yeah. I always think like it's good to live life so that you have something to actually like write about. Like I was like, oh, I like wasn't planning on crashing a dirt bike in the desert in Mexico, but that ended up being a great song. And it's like, yeah, stuff like that like has to happen. You know that like social media like adage where you're like you should capture content, not create it? But I think you should do things that are genuine instead of like setting up a situation so it looks like you're like having a beautiful photo shoot in the middle of the desert versus just like being in the desert and like taking a photo, you know? That's where I think like, you know, there's two ways to like kind of see, and both have the end result. And maybe even if you set it up, it'll work out better. But for me, I can't do something that's like disingenuous. But I think everything in life, you can kind of see people's agendas and you can see why people are doing it. And whether they're massive or really tiny, like again, going back to Keanu Reeves, like building a motorcycle, like he just genuinely loves motorcycles, and he's not building it to like make a ton of money. He just built a really cool motorcycle, and that's what it costs, you know, to make a really cool motorcycle. It's like some bands are still doing things for the right reasons, even though they're really popular. And it's like, you can sort of see that. I think a perfect example is like Pup. Like Pup is like an incredible band that still like stick to their like, you know, politics and their punk ethos, and like they still tour and they're still lovely guys. And there's now everyone knows it, and it's like working out great for them. So it's like, I feel like you kind of just see those vibes.
Can't change what you can. If you can, then hold on for dear life. If you can't change
the ability to do things as DIY because of like where technology has kind of come around. So like social media, you know, Spotify, Apple Music, like all of those things have made it so much easier to like broadcast on a DIY basis that now you can kind of like do things with less rules, you know, because you don't have to play it safe. You can just like get it done. We're our own boss, so we don't do anything we don't want to do, and that's like the like simplest way to like stay excited. You're just like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be on tour that long. I want to like go see my girlfriend and like go to a cottage and like ride my motorcycle. Like, okay, then that's what we'll do. Or like our drummer, he has 2 kids. He's like, I don't want to be away from my family that long. Like, okay, cool. Then we won't do it, you know? And like that's just the kind of like long and short of it. But it's a great place to just be like, well, nobody else is in charge but us. I think if you're like, your goal is to just do it as hard as possible, you know, then yeah, then it'll work out.